Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to solve the question reverse a linked list. To understand the solution, you need to have a knowledge of what linked list actually is and how is it stored in memory. I'll give you a little idea about it, but if you want a little more details, you have to Google it up. So a linked list is a data structure that consists of nodes that are connected with each other using the address locations. It's a data structure in which data is stored at random locations in memory. So if you consider the list that I have shown here, each of these rectangular box is called as a node, and a node consists of two parts. One is the data part and the other one is the address part. The data part consists of the value that has to be stored, the actual data, and the address part stores the address location of the next element in the linked list. I repeat, the address part stores the address location of the next element in the linked list. So if you see 2 is the next element in the linked list, the address location where 2 is stored is actually 100, so we store 100 here. This is how, even though data is located at random locations, we are able to maintain the continuity and know what all elements are part of this list. This is the address part and this is the data part. Okay, to traverse through the linked list, we use a head pointer. We can move in only one direction and the head pointer points only to the beginning of the linked list. Suppose we want to access what is present at the third position, we need to traverse from the beginning up until this position. Okay, then the value null indicates that the list has ended here. This indicates the end of the linked list. Okay, and there's nothing more to look out for. Okay, so this is the input that is given to us, and what we want to do now is we want to reverse this linked list. Okay, so we want so if you see here, the input is 1, 2, 3 and 4, and now we want to create a linked list starting with 4. So we want to reverse it. So we want to traverse in this direction. Okay, so we want it to be 4, 3, 2 and 1. All right, so let's say we have 4 here. Okay, and now it has to point, as I told you, the address part always points to the next element which we want in the linked list. So if I want to traverse in this direction, what do you think should be the value that is present in 4's address part? 4's address part should point to 3 because that is how we want to traverse, right? So what is the address location of 3 is what is important, and what is it? It is 200. So in 4's address we store 200. Okay, so we are reaching 3. Now when we reach 3, we want to store 2's address so that we move left, right? So what is 2's address? 100. So we stored 100. Similarly, 2, what is if we have to go to 1, what is the address location of 1? It is 0. So at 2 we store 0, and 1 we store null. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now what if you observe what it is, what we are doing is that at every node we are trying to at every node's address location we are trying to store the address of the previous node. Okay, that is exactly what we are doing here, right? At every node we are trying to store the address of the previous node in the original linked list. Okay, so previous node in the original linked list address is going to be the next for the new linked list. That is how we will be able to traverse in the reverse direction. Okay, so let's slowly write code and we'll understand further. Okay, as I told you, the linked list always to traverse to the linked list we use a head pointer. Okay, and we can traverse only in one direction. So let's say there is a node pointer head which is pointing to the head of the linked list. I will take another pointer q which is going to be equal to head. Okay, now I want to traverse through this linked list, so I will be using q. So while q is not equal to null, I want to traverse through the linked list. Okay, now what do I want? So I am at node 1. What do I want in its address location, right? So initially it is 100, but what do I want now? I want null. What is null? And let's say I'm at the second node. Okay, 2. What do I want at 2's address location? The previous node, right? What is previous? Previous node's address location is actually 0, right? So after 2 in the address location I'll be storing 0. So let's take that. So since we need to keep track of the previous node, let's take node pointer priv. So initially I'll keep it as null. Now since we are at node 1, we want q of next to become equal to null. So where is null stored now? It's in priv. So we make q of next equal to priv. Okay, this is clear. Now if we just directly change q of next is equal to priv, so q of next becomes null, so 1 of next becomes null. This will indicate the end of the linked list. How would I traverse? If I have to go to the 100th location, I need to make q also point to the 100th location, right? 100 address location. So how will I do that? I'll first store the q of next. Okay, I'll store q of next in a temporary variable. Then I will make q of next is equal to priv. So now 1 of next becomes equal to null, but I still did not lose my value here. So q is equal to temp. So I did not lose my value here. So q is now going to become equal to 100, which is pointing here. But is priv value always null? No. Priv value changes based on what was the previous value that has occurred. For 1, there was no previous value, so we kept it as null. But for 2, we have 1 as the previous value, right? So we need to update priv equal to q. Okay, so this is the code that we have written. So at every place, we are trying to replace the address location with the address location of the previous node that has occurred. This way we will be able to traverse back. So now what do we return? Now after doing all of this, the address locations have changed, but what am I going to return? I need to return head, right, every time, but head is still pointing to 1. So I need to change this also, because I want head to point to 4. And where is this value stored? It is stored in previous variable. And how can I say that? Head is stored in previous variable because, previous head has to be assigned previous and 4 is stored there. How can I say that? I can say that because if you see here, we have 4 and then after that we have reached end, right? Q is actually pointing to 300, and after that q becomes equal to temp and q becomes equal to null, and we come out of the loop. Previous is always one step before. So in previous we will have the value 300. You can also dry run it to check this out, but if you actually go through each and every step, this is what you will get. So yeah, that's the code for reversing a linked list. I hope the logic is clear. I would reiterate that for every node, we want to replace its address location with the previous node's address location. That's the only logic here, and this is the code. You can test it out. And yeah, I guess you have understood whatever I have said. Please like, share and subscribe, and if you have any doubts, please ask in the comment section as well. Thanks for watching.